Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Onno Stienen. We're going to talk a little bit about VeriPura and about the food supply chain in general. How are you today, Onno?
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. I'm fine. I'm happy to talk with you on the supply chain, which is something I've been very active in over the last couple of years.
Great. Before we dive into it, we're making this recording on the 31st of March, 2025, and just last week there was a really devastating earthquake that hit the Myanmar and Bangkok, which is not so far from where you live. Has that had any effect on anybody that you know?
No. Actually it was last Friday, only a couple of days ago. So it's and actually I followed the news over the weekend. There were a couple of aftershocks, and today a couple of warnings were issued for high rising buildings. So we're not completely out of the danger yet, I would say. But my friends and close ones are safe.
Okay, well, I'm good to hear that, and it's really quite devastating as I saw. But let's now we'll dive into the food business. You're from Holland, from the Netherlands, but you're living in Thailand. Tell us a little bit about how you came to live in Thailand, how long you've been there, and what you've been doing there.
Sure. I'm here for roughly about 15 years, and I was basically following my dream. I wanted to live here for a long time. It's the classic story: you go on holiday and you lose your heart and mind to the country. I'm a foodie, so Thailand is famous for its food, and I actually took that to a higher level. I became trained as a Thai chef and made my life and my business about producing Thai food products for export, specifically organic food products. That's been my passion for the last 10 years.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And so, what made you decide that you wanted to really enter into the supply chain side of things?
I saw a lot of things which I didn't like. The supply chains are long, opaque. The farmers not getting paid the right amounts they should. Middlemen making a large part of the profits. I wouldn't say the largest, but a large part. And we can't trace our food at all. So that's a couple of pretty serious subjects, I would say.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about what you think can be done to solve these problems, these concerns.
Before we dive into let's say, the more technical aspects, I think shortening the supply chain is one step. The second thing would be introducing traceability. So know where the product is grown, where the food is coming from, who handled it, who processed it, and more or less who packed it. That's what I think can be done.
And you mentioned that you produced and exported organic products. From the point of view of an importer in the EU, for example, what are the challenges that an importer faces when attempting to acquire and import products from Southeast Asia?
Well, actually, I was both, right? I was both an exporter and an importer. I had an EU company who was importing the food we produce in Thailand. It is basically a lot of paperwork. Organic certification is a mass balance certification. So you need to be sure that you have the matching paperwork with the product. But that's where the problem starts. How can you know this document you have in your hands or in your email is linked to the actual product you import?
Yeah. And so for those who don't know, what does mass balance mean?
Mass balance means that you get certified for a certain amount of produce you can qualify as organic. Very simple example is a farmer has a hectare of agriculture land which can produce a certain amount, let's say, of chilies. Let's say for the 1 hectare produces 2 metric tons of chili. So this is then certified, and this is then under the let's say the yearly audit. This amount is considered as organic, and that's one of the problems starts.
Yeah, so somebody could have a farm that's 5 times that size, but their farm has been certified organic, right?
Correct.
And what is the impact on an importer or a supermarket that's acquiring a product like that?
Well, they need to prove what's coming from. So who's been growing the let's say again chilies, or who has been processing it to, let's say, a chili sauce. So that's one thing they need to be able to prove, and that's done through a couple of let's say control bodies and authorities involved in the whole process. There's a lot of people and a lot of, let's say, a lot of steps involved in that process, and that makes it a long and difficult thing to do.
Okay, yeah, it sounds complicated and expensive.
Complicated.
Yeah. And so, and if something goes wrong as an importer, what happens, right? What's the impact there?
Well, the worst thing could happen is that a product contains residue, the residue of chemicals used in the agriculture. That's probably the worst thing you can have. It happens that products need to be removed from the shops because of this. Quite often, the problems are found after the import. So the buyer is checking the goods and find issues with it. If they're very unlucky, it's already in the shops, and that's even a bigger headache. What happens is you need to go back to the source, and that's where it all becomes very opaque, because quite often the processor isn't sure where this specific amount of ingredients come from. If the source is known, then the farmer is not always aware of the issue. He might be combining a couple of crops from several farms, because he's like a co-op. So you understand this is where it's getting really complex, and it takes a lot of time, and this is expensive. This is very expensive to do.
So after seeing all this and working in this for a long period of time, you decided to found VeriPura. Tell me a little bit about what VeriPura intends to do.
But originally, I wanted to introduce full traceability. So from the farm at a batch level can be one harvest, can be multiple harvests combined. Traceability at batch level for the let's say the processor and the buyer. But working on this idea, actually, you came up with this idea. We made VeriPura into a marketplace where we combine sellers and buyers, simply said, but with traceability and later on also some compliance. So this is the solution VeriPura is offering.
Okay, and so now if I'm a buyer, right, from a supermarket chain or a distributor, I can go to VeriPura and I can request products, right? Or I can find products that are listed on there and identify the qualifications and certifications of those products. You mentioned earlier and raised some questions about or concerns about some of the certifications. For the people who don't know, can you tell how the certification process works, whether it be for organic or for fair trade, how some of those work and why sometimes things fall between the cracks?
It's very simple to answer. It's a yearly audit. It's once a year the farm or the factory get audited, and you can imagine that everything is going to be perfect at the day of the audit.
So they know in advance often when this is going to happen, the farm or the factory.
They know, they always will know in advance.
Yes.
There are no surprise audits.
Okay.
Which should be there. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. Anybody can look good one day a year, even me. So, so how does VeriPura plan to tackle that, to solve that?
Well, I mentioned traceability. So we will introduce a traceable product linked with a QR code, scannable QR code from the very start of the process. This information is stored in the blockchain. Blockchain is an immutable data storage solution, which is being used, of course, in crypto, but I mean, have many different uses.
And and you mentioned earlier about the sort of complex supply chain, and middlemen often take a significant amount of the money, and farmers are paid very lowly. What are the things that VeriPura is thinking of doing to create incentives and rewards for farmers who do produce their products in a more using better agricultural practices, lower and organic pesticides, etc.? What are some of the thoughts you have on that?
Well, there's a couple of questions in there. I mean, you mentioned that the supply chain is long. By shortening it will increase the income for the farmer. Secondly, the demand for cleaner food also will enhance the working conditions for the farmer. They not deal with heavy chemicals anymore because the product need to be free of these. It's better for, let's say, their health, but also for the living conditions they live in. Typically, farmers live with families, so that's another aspect.
So, in addition to shortening the supply chain, which would provide more money to the farmers and improving their quality of life by incentivizing them to move away from harsher pesticides and fertilizers, what else is VeriPura thinking about doing to engage the farming community?
We want to introduce tokenization. And tokenization is a quite new aspect. It's not brand new, but it's been around since the introduction of cryptocurrencies, blockchain again. We can tokenize almost anything, I could say. But I mean, we're looking at good behavior. You mentioned good agricultural practices. We want to stimulate that and reward farmers for that. Secondly, it's a let's say in a transaction-based system. The marketplace it's a buy and sell place, and this can also be tokenized. So farmers gain from good behavior and open trade. Can I put it that way?
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Right. That sounds good. I think here I have a couple more questions. So if you were to summarize, what VeriPura is offering, let me think about this. Right. So it's a marketplace with traceability, and then you plan to add on, some compliance management, right? What do you and starting in Thailand? Apart from the fact that you live in Thailand, what are some of the other reasons for VeriPura to start in Thailand?
Yes, Thailand, as many Southeast Asian countries, have a population heavily dependent on agriculture. Thailand is about 40% of the population is doing something in agriculture, so that's quite a bit. It's Thailand is also a top 15 food producer, a big exporter of raw materials, but also processed food. So it's a big market share. It's a big thing in Thailand. And as I live here, I want to change something small, but which is really important to me. I see that Thailand can benefit from modernization in agriculture and trade.
And what products are you thinking could really benefit from this in the beginning?
Thailand have a lot of food products for export. Thailand is like the number 1 or 2 rice exporter in the world. Tapioca is number 1. That's typically a food ingredient product. But we also do like chilies. We do rubber, all these kind of agriculture products. Definitely, the neighboring country, Vietnam, is a big food producer as well. They do a lot of coffee there, for example. We're also looking at Indonesia. Might be even looking at Philippines a bit further away, and in the long term, even the country where you lived for so long time, Brazil.
Okay, so all of this sounds quite interesting, Onno. What is the status of VeriPura today, and what are the plans for the near future?
That's a good question. We are at the stage that the business plan is ready. Our financial model is ready. We've got the numbers. We're developing an MVP, which is showable to interested parties. It's not finished yet, but that's what it's, and why it's an MVP. We have a commitment from some user groups. Like I mentioned, I'd like to mention some importers from Europe, some a brand owner. We're talking to some processors in Thailand. So there's some traction. We try to get funded. We're raising money. We're talking to angel investors to get the MVP in the next phase, and hopefully we'll launch that end of May at a big food show in Thailand.
So, Onno, if anybody is interested in learning more about VeriPura or becoming an angel investor, how do they contact you?
All right, you can see the QR code of the contact details for me online in the video, and I also will. We also put the link tree for our social media. So please go ahead and connect there. If you want to do that in the old-fashioned way, the email is info@veripura.com.
Very good. Well, it's a pleasure talking to you, and all the best to you and to VeriPura.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Nice to talk to you too.
Right.